The laughter of the children echoed on the bus. "Hey, old man, you missed the stop again," one shouted. Another mimicked a sputtering engine. "Beware, Grandpa, the bus might break down like you." The grip on the wheel of the driver tightened, but he kept quiet. Rain drummed against the windshield. The taunts stung, but silence was his only reply. His name was Mr. Harris. To the children, he was just a slow, doddery, worn-out bus driver. They enjoyed mocking him. They never imagined that same man would be between them and disaster one day. Mr. Harris led a simple life, a widower with a gray head of hair and a back bent slightly from decades of work. He drove the same yellow school bus for decades. His uniform was stained. His shoes were worn thin. His lunch was always a plain sandwich, foil-wrapped. The kids believed him to be weak, old-fashioned, a joke in waiting. But Mr. Harris never yelled at them. Instead, he nodded respectfully to each of them and said quietly, "Good morning." He was a man of few words, but he used them with dignity. Across from him sat his opposites, the loud, self-righteous kids who controlled the back seats. They teased him for stopping, called him Grandpa Wheels, and bet about whether or not he'd skip their stop this time. He just laughed it off, though every word cut deeper than they could have guessed. Mr. Harris used to be hardy, fast with his hands, and proud of what he did. Age had worn him down, though, and all he had left was patience and his bus. The kids could see nothing but weakness. They never looked closely enough to notice the hidden strength underneath. The challenge arrived on a day when the heavens darkened above the small town. School was let out early. Thunder rolled in the distance. The pupils clambered onto the bus, fidgety, phones vibrating with storm warnings. One youth sneered, "Think you can even peer through the rain, old man?" His friends laughed. Mr. Harris simply checked the mirrors, turned on the engine, and departed. A few minutes later, the drizzle turned into sheets of rain. Wind howled. The bus shook as if the storm itself wanted to engulf it whole. The kids, who had been hard to quiet at first, became restless. Lightning ripped the sky in two. Then, a tree fell across the road ahead. Mr. Harris slammed the brakes. The bus skidded, stopping just in time. Gasps filled the air. Panic erupted. "We're stuck," a girl screamed. "Call someone," another shouted. But phones lost signal. Rain hammered harder. Water began to flood the road. The bus trembled under the storm's fury. The children's bravado vanished, and then all eyes turned to the man they had ridiculed. Mr. Harris took a deep breath to steady himself. "Everyone, stay calm. Sit down. Hold on." His tone was firm, louder than ever before. It sliced through the uproar. The children stood in stunned fascination, frozen by the command in his voice. For the first time, they listened to him. Slowly, Mr. Harris shifted the bus into reverse, expertly guiding the huge vehicle along twisting, muddy back roads. The wipers fought the blinding rain. Branches cracked and fell overhead. At one point, water surged so high it lapped against the bus's underside. A boy screamed, "We're going to drown." Mr. Harris replied sharply, "No, not while I'm here." With experience honed over decades behind the wheel, he drove through detours, bypassing downed power lines and shattered trees. Knuckles white around the steering wheel, his eyes remained keen, unblinking. Every action was calculated, measured. He wasn't driving, he was safeguarding. The minutes ticked by like hours. The children clustered together, muttering prayers, their previous insults gall on their lips. And then, finally, the bus rode onto higher ground. Lights blinked from a community center in the distance. Volunteers motioned them in. Relief flowed through the bus like a wave. Cheers burst out. Tears dripped freely. They were safe. The children poured out, shaken but alive. Mr. Harris pulled the bus to a stop and got out into the rain, spent but serene. For an instant, the children just gazed. The man they had jeered at had been their protector. One of the courageous students moved forward, voice shaking. "Mr. Harris, you saved us." Another spoke quietly. "Sorry for all the times we teased you." The rest of the class soon gathered around him, heads hung low in gratitude and shame. Mr. Harris smiled weakly. "You don't owe me thanks. You just owe yourselves a promise to be better tomorrow than you were today." And in the weeks that followed, all that changed. The laughter at the rear of the bus wasn't mocking anymore. It was carefree. Children greeted him each morning with deference. They inquired about his day. They volunteered to carry his lunch. Some even opted to sit up front, just to keep him company. The previously invisible man became a silent hero in their eyes. Word of his deeds traveled around town. Parents pumped his hand. Teachers commended his bravery. The community learned what the children had never known: a man who had put his own life at risk to defend their children. Mr. Harris never bragged, never asked for praise. He simply kept driving, the same consistent manner in which he had always driven. To those children, however, he was irreversibly changed. Months afterward, during a hot afternoon as the bus drove smoothly along the road, a student inquired, "Mr. Harris, weren't you scared that day?" He stopped, looking out at the horizon. "Of course I was," he replied, "but courage isn't the lack of fear. It's doing what's right, even when fear is weighing heavily on your shoulders." The bus was quiet. Those words cut deeper than any lesson learned from a book. They realized then, sometimes the boldest hearts don't roar. They don't crave notice. They just respond when the moment is greatest. Years later, many of them grew up and recalled that storm. Some became teachers. Some had children of their own. And when they noticed someone being teased or belittled, a janitor, a cashier, a weary worker, they remembered the silent bus driver who had once been underestimated as well. And they chose kindness, because kindness had rescued them once before. The lesson held fast. Never count out the silent ones. The one you disdain today might be the very person who rescues your life tomorrow.